it's going to be a prequel called Avalanche. Millie, give us your elevator pitch here. What is this movie about?
Yeah, I mean, that's right. Live action fan film, very, very adamant on the fan film for all legal purposes, which we've done
Of
our research
course.
on. And a live action prequel story to the world of Midgar prior to Cloud's arrival or return, if you will. And yeah, I don't even know where to get started, but this is gonna be a love letter to Final Fantasy fans and a really great opportunity to transform the city of Los Angeles into the city of Midgar, which I think everybody can kind of agree on is literally like a city on a plate that has just been built up and tunnels underground, a lot of history here with that. And it just, if anywhere in the world or anywhere in America anyway, feels like Midgar, it's here. So this has been something I've wanted to do for a very long time. I've always had different ideas. I originally wanted to do a TV series and an episodic run of, different storylines of the citizens of Midgar, maybe following Johnny's story. Always like kind of interested in the characters of Avalanche because we just got so little of them, and I was always a little sad that they weren't playable characters, especially Jesse.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that we got to get a lot more involved when in Final Fantasy VII Remake and some of the books, but yeah, I think it would be a really great idea. So anyway, Final Fantasy VII live action prequel. And I can get a little bit more into the storyline if you have any questions.
Yeah, no, for sure. We'll go through a list of questions, kind of give you a chance to really kind of dive deep into this. But first of all, I love the call out for Jesse because Dadman and I were just talking about before you got on the how well Final Fantasy does with female protagonists. And Jesse is a very underrated character, and so
Mhm.
I can tell. Hopefully I'm not throwing out here something you don't want, but I may or may not have. Read the script for this, and you captured Jesse so well in this. Like you really all the characters you capture well. But I told you one of my first pieces of feedback I sent you was like I'm hearing these characters talk like through your dialogue, which is awesome. But my first question to you, Millie, is like with Final Fantasy VII, it's arguably the most recognizable Final Fantasy IP. It's one of the most iconic worlds, and out of all the stories and characters and timelines within Midgard, what specifically about your story, in as you were writing and creating it, you were like, okay, I've got to. This has got to go from concept to reality, and made you decide to pick up a camera and bring this particular piece to life.
Okay, there was a few different aspects. I think it's no big surprise of how much Final Fantasy VII is following our current state of the world very, very
Yes.
directly. And so I've also been calling this film a bit of a protest film because in the spirit of Avalanche, if Avalanche were citizens of Midgar, what would they do? They would totally make a protest film against Shinra, like protest videos, propaganda films, like back in the day, if you will. And so there was definitely that call because I think every one of us wants to speak out against the horrors going on in the world. And I've always, no matter how many protests I've attended, I've always felt really comfortable like using my camera to try to capture anything if I can and taking photos of the protesters and the voices and videos. So, in a way, like making this film is a way of doing that and having a protest in the form of the protesters in the city of Midgar and the world of Gaia, and yeah, kind of directly correlating it to what is going on in the world, and hopefully a not too subtle gesture, but not too overbearing. But also, I'm not gonna lie, I was working at a studio 2 years ago, in Los Angeles in Culver City, and the studio just it was a warehouse vibe, and it also had like one of those white cyc walls, super cool for sci-fi. But it just the warehouse vibe really reminded me of the Avalanche hideout, and I was working there and I thought of something. I was like, wow, this would be so cool to like film something Final Fantasy and like maybe in the Avalanche hideout here. So we started working on it, and then one thing or another, the studio shut down. But I got this idea,
Mm.
and it also like reignited this idea that I had had about the series, and making a proof of concept and turn it into a feature film is something that filmmakers do all the time in LA. So I was like, let me just make the short. Let me just at least make a teaser and get this out of my system. Like find a warehouse space, put something together really beautiful, really cinematic, and yeah, just tell this little bit that I want to tell. And then it got too captured. I started working on the script, I started working on the story, and I really wanted to dig more. So I just decided, regardless of anything, we're just going to really guerrilla style shoot this film while we're also simultaneously crowdfunding and finding support from local businesses and the Final Fantasy community to basically crowdfund this feature film and make it happen.
That's so awesome. I, just the idea of the fact that like this started out as kind of a small itch in your brain. You were like, I've got to play this out, right? And it started with just a small short, and you were like, all right, let me just film the scene, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, I've got to bring this whole thing to life. Like in that process, what did you find to be like the most challenging from going from a video game medium into a live action medium? What has been the hardest part about this process?
Ooh, I mean, honestly, the hardest part was just the money because LA is so expensive for filming. That was the honest, I can say hands down, but this was such a delightful process. I think, like, I think any challenge that I've met, like, I had this really wonderful team of filmmakers in LA. Like, I'm thinking specifically of a production designer that she worked with a friend of hers that is a Final Fantasy fanatic like the rest of us, and really got a lot of suggestions and pulled out all these art decks of giving me ideas of how to like really bring like fan specific nods and visuals of Final Fantasy to life, and it was fantastic. Like really truly, like I had the idea and then this team brought something really great together that really just like you should have seen me on set when they had built a full out like Avalanche layout with the flag that you see behind me
Mhm.
on the wall, the television, the couch, and the all of the things, literally down to like the whiteboard and specific little niche things from the original Hideout in 1997 that I never even really noticed, and they called out and just brought it out. I was like, wow. This is fantastic. So, yeah, it ended up being like I find a lot of filmmaking when I get to direct my projects, it's a lot easier and so much fun because I'm working with such a great team. So there wasn't that many hard parts. Maybe casting. Oh, and making a Gatling gun. That wasn't easy. I'm definitely gonna get help for the feature film because I'm glad that's the one thing I haven't been trolled on, and I'm a little grateful slash surprised for that.
Well, listen, I think a majority of people just can just appreciate like what you're doing here, right? I think when fan film or not, when you think of Final Fantasy movies, it's not like it has the best reputation with the community,
Oh.
right? Like looking at you, spirits within,
Yeah.
and so I think that we're all just very appreciative of the story you're trying to tell and the lore you have behind it. And listen, the you're talking about the set design and all that kind of stuff. You have a trailer up on your website. Where can people find that? What plug the website? Where can they find the trailer and where can they donate at?
Well, thank you. So you can actually find everything, the trailer, the whole story, the cast, on avalanchefanfilm.com. www.avalanchefanfilm.com. This is a direct crowdfunding campaign. So rather than donating or rather submitting 10% of all of our efforts to projects like, Indiegogo or Kickstarter, this is directly crowdfunded through PayPal Donate. So it's still a really encrypted, safe system. You're not just handing over your card details online. Worked really hard on making the website as well as the teaser. But yeah, check it out. That's what you can also check out a bunch of incentives and rewards for donors. At the very least, shout outs on social media, all the way up to your own prop Gatling gun from the set, because we're going to have a couple because, Barrett is in the cast. So, lots of
Nice.
other rewards and incentives, including like, invites to a red carpet screening in LA, digital copy, and some really cool Buster Sword keychains that I got recently.
Mm.
I absolutely love that. Yeah, definitely make your way over to the website www.avalanchefanfilm.com. Check it out. Like I just me and my wife spent probably 20 minutes just exploring your website and looking at the different things that you had the other night, and so Definitely need to check it out and be able to immerse yourself in this experience, because I think it's going to be extremely unique and super special. And just as a couple of last little follow-ups, and Dadman, if you have anything, interject here. But as you were writing this story, I believe you said it on the website, so I don't think I'm giving spoilers away, but there's an original character in this, yes? Okay, tell us a little bit about this original character and what inspired you to add to the lore of Final Fantasy.
Oh, yeah, I'm so excited to talk about this. So, I actually added a few original characters because like I said, like I really wanted to dig into Midgar and the city there. Like, it was only one really short part of the game and we didn't even get to explore anything in disc 3 when you get to go back to it and when we get to go back to it in the, Final Fantasy 7 Revelation that they just announced. But I digress. I added a few original characters because I really wanted to like dive more into the city, but I also added a lot of familiar characters that everybody knows. But one that is really near and dear to my heart is Luke, who you can see a little bit of his story in the trailer. So definitely no spoilers there. Luke is one of the characters of Avalanche that is a fellow protester, and along with Biggs, Wedge, Jesse, and Barrett. And Luke is, I have a little bit of a spoiler that I kind of want to drop here, but I'll just keep going. He's a great character, and I really thought of him because I have an actor friend named Connor in Los Angeles that I've worked with on a couple projects, including my directorial debut, and in just an absolutely wonderful human being and actor in general. And I wanted to write a specific person, but he's blonde hair with these bright blue eyes. And there was obviously there's Cloud, but I didn't want to just do a remake. This wasn't a Cloud story, so I thought about this character Luke, and it led to this whole series of like a storyline like highlighting some of the injunctions that are, happening in Shinra that also are kind of plays on what's happening in the world today. But I guess like it's I'll tell a little bit of the story. It's basically he's actually an autistic character and on the spectrum. And in the script, it is actually highlighted as the Shinra spectrum disorder. And the health organization or the head of health council at Shinra actually deemed anybody that's on the Shinra spectrum disorder as less than qualified to be a Shinra employee or a soldier. So I'll just go ahead and just let that sizzle. That's a little bit of Luke's storyline, and there's some other like really fun little cookies and fan film nods like to the Final Fantasy universe with his character as well. So that's that, and it's like one of the side character, one of the characters. He's actually one of the lead characters, and it explains also why you don't end up seeing him with the Avalanche gang in Final Fantasy VII. So yeah, I'll leave that there.
I love that. Dadman, do you have anything you want to add or ask?
Yeah, when you were going through your process of like, I guess putting your team together, and you had to like, do your soft pitch, did you come across um more, I guess, fans? I guess because Final Fantasy VII is such a polarizing title in the franchise, and it's a lot more mainstream than some of the other titles. So when you were putting like your team together, were there a lot of already existing Final Fantasy VII fans, or were there people who really had to like dive into that world and educate themselves to be part of your project?
That's actually, like, the biggest bummer of the project. I'm, like, the only person on the whole crew
Ah,
or cast that it, like, played any Final Fantasy. Everybody that I talk to ever, it's just, like, they get the same answer. "I know of Final Fantasy, but I've never played any of the games. I've never seen any of the movies." So I did some individual educating. I actually, so my director of photography, who's like my right hand man on set, God bless him, he's a big gamer, and he actually downloaded and played Final Fantasy VII remake prior to production. Like when I first gave him the idea, like I mentioned, like there was like the one studio closed down, so we had all this time before we actually shot the thing. So he went and played the entire thing. He really, well, he says he enjoyed it, and positive he did. But it also gave him a lot of like ideas and cues for the lighting design. Like if you notice, like in the game, there's like everything is really lit with this like warm tumescent glow because all under the plate. But there's a
Mhm.
lot of neon and bright, like bright white light highlights, and it's really interesting to like translate that cinematically. And so that was honestly like some of the things that I really was excited to achieve when we shot this proof of concept. It was actually like around a year ago that we filmed it. um I really wanted to be able to like show, you know, potential investors and people that would actually like help support and raise money and support this film in LA that know a little bit about the cinematic lighting and the filmmaking process. Like I didn't want to like just shoot this on a cell phone. Like I want to show them like we really know what we're doing. We could actually make this look beautiful in every aspect, from the fan film and Final Fantasy world aspect, and also from a cinematic fan film YouTube world aspect. And that's something else I like love to get into, is just like pointing the finger at like, you know, the for indie filmmakers, the world on YouTube is really hot, obviously. Like I feel like that's an obvious statement with the movies that are coming out right now. Backrooms blowing up, like did really well, like horrified me. Obsession was absolutely wonderful. I loved that film. I don't think I've ever screamed and kicked my feet up in a theater like I did in that film. And both are coming from, you know, YouTube filmmakers that really got a lot of stir. That's fantastic. Like I don't know, I feel like the world is like, you know, within our grasp for, you
Mhm.
know, for once. Like it's proving what indie filmmakers can do. I'm not saying that Final Fantasy like Avalanche is going to make it into a theatrical production, because that would end up as bad as Spirits Within. Honestly, let's be serious, you guys. But they would take all the control away from me. But I really do feel like, you know, this is something that I feel really passionate about, and I know it has the community of people that would watch it. And even been told by the biggest haters on my page, on my TikTok, that have dropped comments like, will I hate on this? Yes. Will I watch it when it comes out? Absolutely. So gotta be grateful for that.
That's a
Like, yeah.
win. Yeah,
But I
that's a
know the
win.
audience is out there, and I'm excited to bring it to them.
That's awesome. And then one more thing. I feel like um maybe Spira is up there too, but I feel like Midgar in the Final Fantasy VII, not just the main title, but like the whole entire compilation of Final Fantasy VII, is like a character of its own. I kind of compare Midgar to how I would compare it to Gotham City. Gotham City, it's like its own living, breathing character, and Midgar is his own living, breathing character. And when you're playing in that sandbox, like did you approach the situation that way, knowing that, okay, yes, I have Jesse, I have Biggs, Wedge, Barrett, but I also have to kind of write or focus energy on Midgar as an organic entity as well?
I love the way you're phrasing that. Like, it's not, I didn't really specifically think about it that way, but I do so agree that like Midgard is literally its own living, breathing organism, as is the planet, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, no, I put so much consideration, like, and it was really, really my favorite thing about writing this, and something that I really want to make sure I'm honing in on, like, as like we get closer to actually shooting the thing, is like creating Midgar, really highlighting what it would be like to walk through the slums. Like, you know, we got a really great grasp of the remake and the graphic details there, and of course Rebirth as well. Like, but that's so into its own world. But yeah, I think like seeing it like in a cinematic way, and like in a live action way, particularly like what it would really be like seeing some of those spray painted graffitis, and seeing, you know, like particularly like the actual protests that are happening against like the Shenra and the employees, and the separation between the top plate employees and everything that's happening on the beautiful top of the plate, and then below with the slums. Like, I'm really looking forward to highlighting that with all the diversity of what is Los Angeles, and also making really special connections to parts of LA that are just feels so Final Fantasy. Like
Mhm.
the LA tunnels absolutely fascinate me. They feel exactly like, the part when you hop off the train and you have to sneak your way into, what is it, Sector 5 reactor.
Mhm.
And there's some abandoned places, abandoned power plants that are just, it feels like, well, it feels very Midgar out here sometimes, and I'm so excited to show that and like hope to get that connection across.